What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Michelle Renee from IamMichelleRenee.com. And today I am back with another interview with a dope Black woman. So, everybody, please welcome to my platform the beautiful Linda Holloway. How are you, Miss Linda?
I'm doing outstanding. I'm doing
Tell
outstanding.
everybody who you are, where you're from, and what your brand is.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me. I really, truly appreciate it. So, from one dope Black woman to another, I'm really grateful that you have me on this platform.
Thank you.
Uh,
The pleasure is
I
all mine.
I am Linda J. M. Holloway, and I'm originally from the great state of Mississippi. I say that with a lot of enthusiasm and pride because oftentimes when people think about the state of Mississippi, they think of lads on the bottom. And also, I'm from Mount Bayou, Mississippi, which is in the Delta. And the Delta is known for its flat land farm. And so that's where I grew up. I'm a proud Mount Bayou. It's an all Black town. A lot of people are not familiar with that, but it's an all Black town that was found by two former slaves, July the 12th, 1887. So I really like to share that. Uh, like I said, I'm Linda Holloway, and I'm originally from the great state of Mississippi. And when I think about like who I am, I think of terms of myself in many parts. Like I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, I'm a friend, I'm a poet, I'm a story activist. And oftentimes people say, "What's a story activist?" Because they've heard of storyteller, and it's not to minimize storyteller, but storyteller simply tells the story. A story activist usually has a story that comes alive that talks about the activism that's within the story. I also consider myself to be a veteran, which I am. So I served in the military for like 27 years in the reserves, 4 combat tours. So I like to talk about that. 2 tours to Iraq. Well, actually 3 tours to Iraq because I did Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Many of you probably wasn't
Wow.
born during that time. And then 2 tours to Iraq and to Afghanistan. So I also worked with women when I was over there. So I have a lot of passion about around women and children. And so also I'm a professor here at the Alabama State University here in Montgomery, Alabama. I've been here for 4 years and I'm thoroughly enjoying that. And what kind of brought me into my brand when she asked me what was my brand, what is my brand, is to educate, elevate, and to empower women. But in the
Yes.
process of doing that, as I was writing articles, writing lot of articles on colorism, just imposter syndrome, women in mental wellness, I thought at one point these women were children. They were young girls. And I said to myself, how can I reach these young children? And so I would have never thought in a million years that I would be writing children books. Because first of all, I have no children. I don't work with children. I work with adults. And I thought, what better way to reach young Black children was through the story. So many of my books that I have, they found articles that I've written. And so my debut book was about I Love My Happy Hair. So we'll talk about that more as we get into it. So that's a little bit of kind of about how I got started, what led me into that.
You just covered so much. And one, I'm blown away because you are a vet, you're a sister, you're a author, you're a story activist, you're a professor, and literally the definition of a dope Black woman. But you said something that really touched very kind of personally. I'm a mom of girls. I have 4 little girls, and I have to remind them that I was a little girl too. That I wasn't always a grown up. So it's really funny because I talk to my 5-year-old a lot, and she's like, "Oh, mommy, when I get grown, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna be a mommy too, and I'm gonna have babies." I'm like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "And what are you gonna do when I'm a grown up?" I'm like, "I'll still be a grown up." We all start from this little phase. So to hear that you've taken the work that you're doing with women and now transformed it, because a lot of us, the healing that we have to do is related to the healing of the inner child that needs to be done. So tell me about these books and these stories and how you've transformed your articles into stories that can be relatable for children.
Okay, so if it's okay, I would just kind of just show the
Absolutely.
picture. You probably can see behind. Like I say, this is my debut book. I Love My Happy Hair. That was the first one. I'm also, I can add to it, I'm award-winning author. So this won the New York Distinguished Award.
That's
This
awesome.
actually won the New York Book Award. So, and that's Little Miss Linda Goes to Counseling. And I just like to give visuals. As I said earlier, I'm a teacher, so I wanted to give some visuals so you can kind of have an idea. And this is Little Miss Linda Speaks Out About Sickle Cell, and it won the Moonbeam Children Award in 2020.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. And this is Little Miss Linda Speaks Out About Rape. And this is Little Miss Linda Speaks Out About Diversity. As you mentioned, many of these books are derived from many articles I've written, but they also derive from challenges that actually are being experienced in the Black community. So they just didn't come out of a vacuum. And so with that being said, I wanted to create a safe place in an environment where I call it a safe and a brave place, where young children can actually talk about issues that they may not otherwise get a chance to talk about. And they can have the freedom to be able to talk about that. But not only just create an environment where they can have a discussion and have talking about books, but they also are learning to read. So literacy is involved. So all of those things take place. And I always like to tell people that when I come in, I bring my A game. So I'm not just sitting there reading, telling a story. I'm actually demonstrating. I have a ton of props that I have, and I lay all of those props out to help me actually. So it's very engaging to help me actually tell the story. So that kind of gives the foundation in terms of how the books got started and why I do what I do in terms of reaching young Black children. As we know, they are challenged by a lot of different things. And so being able to tell it in such a informative way, but also a way that is engaging, allows them to create, because most of the time people will say, well, I want to create a safe place. I want to create a brave place so you can be able to. And parents are saying, well, I talk to my children about things, but you will be surprised that when we are sitting around, we've talked about different things, they are able to talk about, say, for example, I Love My Happy Hair. I Love My Happy Hair is about I created a character. Of course, the character is Little Miss Linda. It's my inner voice that's talking. They are fictional stories. They do have some sprinkle of truth in them, but they're not all true. Like, I really try to highlight Mississippi. So you'll see Mount Bayou, Mississippi located in there, 6 sisters, 2 brothers. So there are some things, but it's not true that they actually tease me about my hair. And so it's about a young girl who gets teased about her hair, but her mother speaks wisdom to her and basically tell her, you have hair from the queens and kings of Africa. You have beautiful hair. Good hair is hair that is washed and clean. And so I kind of talk to students about, have you felt bad about your hair? Has someone teased you about your hair? What's good hair? What constitutes bad hair? Hair is a real issue. And even during
Yes.
the pandemic, people were still trying to, because it's a part of your wellness, they're still trying to get your hair done. And people were saying, you're going to risk your life in getting your hair done. But it's more than just, I want what's on my head done. It makes a person feel good. And so I talk about the legacy of hair, because in studying about Black women in their hair, I ran up on a story called 400 Years Without a Comb. And I never thought about that. And you think about the slaves coming over, and you probably thought about a lot of different things, but you didn't think about their hair. But hair was a ritual in which they braided their hair. They did things with their hair. There were laws against how Black people can wear their hair. So they are really surprised and rich, because you can just see in the women around the world how they may have their hair braided, twisted, plaited, just in different forms. And it's wonderful to see Blacks now celebrating their natural hair, because that's the way their hair grows out of their head. And so that allows me to have that kind of discussion. So that is I Love My Happy Hair. And it has a song in it that we get to sing. It's called I Love My Happy Hair. They really enjoy that. I also create, because I am an educator, I have what I call LOLs. No, not laughing out loud, but it's called learning out loud. And these LOLs are questions, and they may not always be about what's in the book. It could be about different things, but depending on the age group, we get to talk about those LOLs, and I'll ask them various questions. And so we get a chance to sit around the campfire, so to speak, and answer those questions. Also, my books have a contract. Not every one of them, but most of them have a contract. And this contract, usually the children get up and they read it and they sign it. And it is basically saying, I will not tease anyone about their hair. I just want to share with you this one story I had as one student was telling me about her hair and having a bad hair. She said, well, I came to school and I had a hat on. And she was a female. She said, but I was sent home because she said my mother could not afford to get my hair done. And so she said, I knew that I would be teased about my hair. And so she said that made her really feel bad. And so she was having to miss a lot of days of school. But the superintendent got involved, well, the principal got involved to get her hair done. So there's a lot of stigma around young children and their hair as well as adult. And I wanted to share that because I was saying you still love your happy hair. And I said, we talked about that and we talked about what that meant. We talked about time when mothers spend with their daughters, whether they're braiding their hair. And the story actually talks about that. I know I definitely would love many of you all to get the book, but it has moments in there where she's crying about her hair and her mother is sitting there with blue magic grease. And I'm wondering, like, do people know what blue magic grease is? Because I grew up and my sisters would tell me, good luck in finding blue magic grease. But I went to Walmart and
They
they had
got it.
blue magic grease. We've been talking about hot combs. Some of them are not familiar with hot combs. What a straightening comb is, that's beyond their time. But this is a time of bonding with the mother when she, especially in I can speak about the South. And she would just sit you down and ask you, how was your day? And just kind of be, and that's the closest she's like, she's in your ear. And many of you all probably have stories when you was getting your hair pressed and you had to hold your ear. So all the heat, you wouldn't get burned. And we talk about what is really good hair, because oftentimes people think good hair is the texture hair. It's your wavy kind of curly hair. So if I don't have hair that looks like that, that means I don't have good hair. But the mother in this story tells her good hair is hair that is clean, that is washed. And so that was one of the things I asked the young girl was your hair, did you feel good about your hair? She said, I did. I said, so what kept you from taking the cap off? Because she said, I knew that other people would tease. But she did say being there at that day. So when I talk about my goal, my brand is to educate. And so when we go out and do these stories, we're actually educating them, telling them about the history of hair, telling them about how to love and respect the way their hair grows over their head. And how do we elevate them is by providing them with historical knowledge and knowledge today. And how do we empower them? By simply saying, love who you are. You are Black and beautiful. We really support James Brown when he says, say it loud, I'm
I'm
Black
black
and
and
I'm
I'm
proud.
proud.
He did
Yes.
not say it low, I'm Black and I'm poor. He said,
Yes,
say
he
it
did.
loud, that I'm Black and I'm proud, meaning that you're proud of the way that you look. And this was happening in this story. And because she loved her hair so much, and she looked in the mirror and she told her mother, I have happy hair. And her mother said, little Miss Linda, what's happy hair? And she said, it's the way that your hair grows in your head. And that's how she came up with the happy hair song.
I love that. And it's so that's so relevant and timely for me right now. With having so many little girls, hair is a big thing in our house. And all of my girls have natural hair. My oldest is a braider, so she braids my hair. She braids all of our hair. She braids her friend's hair. But just recently, my little one, we took her braids down and I put her hair in ponytails for the first time since she was really little. She's only 5, but she's always kind of worn braids and extensions because it's just easier to not have to comb it every day. Well, I put it in ponytails and she was like, Mommy, oh my gosh, I love this. I love this. Can I wear this to school? I was like, You want to? She's like, Yes. And look at these barrettes. And look at these. I was like, But the best part of it was sitting her between my legs with her little legs crossed and me parting her hair and greasing her scalp and just brushing it and loving on her and talking to her, which is something that I'd done with her sisters before her. And that I told her, I said, This is a mother's joy. This is the thing that we get excited about. And this is, while I do things that make memories for you all, this is a memory for me to have you sitting in my lap, to be able to comb your hair and to get you ready and to see your face when you turn around and are so excited about the hair that's growing out of your head. This didn't come with a we didn't do it in a pressing comb or anything like that. Just
Mhm.
this baby's regular coily hair coming out of her scalp that she is loving and embracing. And I think creating a culture and languages around embracing your happy hair, because we've seen people talk about my nappy hair and it still has this negative sting to it. But when you talk about your hair being happy and it being full of life and spirit and growing up like a pineapple, that it stands up straight or that it comes out of your head doing its own thing versus just laying down and being at peace. No, ours has power. And I love that. So I love that you're creating stories that can be related to, but then even getting into the more um what would be controversial topics, discussing rape or talking about dealing with illnesses like sickle cell or even diversity. Those are big things that our kids are ready for those conversations. If we don't talk to them about it now, they don't know how to handle it if they're ever faced with it or if they have a friend that's faced with it. So I love that you're really bringing these conversations to the forefront, with little Miss Linda and her characterization of it. I think that's so beautiful and I'm so excited about it. You've already won awards with the books that you've produced. Where do you see this character going and what do you see happening with your book series?
Um, Thank you. That's a beautiful question. Where I see the character going is continue to, because they're not, it's not a series, so it's kind of like a start and stop. So currently right now we are working on Bad Girls of Montgomery. And BAD stands for bold and determined. And these were the women who were actually participating kind of behind the scene. We've heard about Rosa Parks and the Montgomery Boycott movement, but there were other individuals that were also that played a very pertinent role. And so it's like little Miss Linda takes a trip from Mount Bayou, Mississippi to Montgomery and discovers these women. So that's one thing we have. We're going to also take a look at grief because we're dealing with a lot of death. Like, how do you cope with death? We also take a look at divorce. And that's kind of where we're going. So it just depends on the various topics that come up. And this, believe it or not, these characters actually take a mind of their own. And I know it may sound a little strange, but they start to speak to you and tell you as you're a writer or creator. And so you begin to follow that with coming up with different things and what you want to do. Because some of my readers have said, I'd be so glad when little Miss Linda grows up. And it was never my intention that she obviously will stay little because it's for younger children. And like I said, it's just not, we're creating safe place. We're doing that because I am an educator. It does lends itself to reading time. And I know we've talked about moms and daughters, but we know that we do have, I think fathers have kind of peeked in on that and say, hey, that works. To how can I bond with my daughter? So how can you teach me how to do hair? And so they too have began to sit the young ladies and begin to work on their hair, as well as, bonding with their sons by taking them to the barber shop. So there's a lot. The next book is, we talked about mental health. And when we think in terms of, you were saying, well, where is she going? It's so much meat to pull off. So it would go on and on and on. So the next one actually deals with counseling. She knows that something is going on with her, but she really doesn't know. So she has these 5 good friends, and she says she finally tell them, I think I'm suffering from depression. Her parents just think she's, you start in a new school, but it starts off where she lives in this big, beautiful home. She has everything that she needs. And so it paints the story like, what possibly could be going wrong? And that oftentimes happens to many of our children. It's like you give them the perfect home, you give them everything they need, they're doing well in school, you're getting all A's, but yet deep down inside, she said, I'm so blue, I don't know what to do. So she's writing in her diary. No one knows that she's finding it difficult to get up in the morning. So when you say, where is she going? There's so many roads to go from where she's already been, I think. And so being able just to be able to talk about that during the pandemic. I know we as adults been talking about what we need to do in terms of our wellness, but children too have been struggling with this. What it means to me a mask, what it means to 6 feet apart, dealing with multiple death, going from being in school, seeing their friends socially, not being able to go to prom, all of those social activities, because we're social beings. And then just knowing in the Black community, my article that I wrote was Black people rather go to church than therapy, than counseling. And
It's
so
true.
that came out of this. And so you find her in here praying to God to relieve this, take it away. Not say you have to do one without the other one, but she's thinking this is what's going to happen. But the pain, this misery doesn't go away. And so we want children to have that voice, to be able to talk about that. And like I said, that's such a great question, because oftentimes people think about where you're going. Like, you've covered all these topics. What else is it left? Like I said, it's so much awareness. It's so much to be in those particular areas. And because it is an activist story, she always flipped the script. She starts a program. In this particular program, she starts a blog. Let's talk about it. And so I wanted to encourage young students that these are things that they can do, and they have done. We saw young children in the civil rights movement get out there and march across the bridge, and they were the ones that were integrated into school. So we want to just really continue to encourage our young people that, as former President Obama said, yes, you can, yes, you have, and yes, you will. And so those are other avenues. And there are topics like people, when you think about sickle cell, you think about people with disability, what type of right language to use. During that time, it's very critical. People tease you, being able to be able to understand that this illness is real. There have been some discoveries, that there have been some scientific move along, but it's moving very slow. And a lot of times when things impact Black people, Black and brown people, it doesn't get that much visibility, because most people didn't even know there was a sickle cell month. There's a National Sickle Cell Day. And these days, it runs around June 19th, was June 10th. So it's overshadowed. So when you ask the question, where she's going to continue to raise her voice, be a voice for the voiceless, and continue to talk about these various issues. And like you said, some of the topics are really tough. A lot of times when people see rape, like, how in the world are you going to address rape? But you just addressed about talking about that your body, and depending on the age group. Now, obviously, and I talk about this in the book, with younger children, you're not talking about those things. You get permission from parents. But if you are doing something in your church and you want to talk, time is to talk about it. Time is now. So you find her doing that again, just speaking up, having a voice for rape. She really blacks out. She doesn't know what happens to her. Her mother tells her, but the right touch, wrong touch. We know that we deal in sex trafficking. We know that people's bodies have been exploited. We know that Black women bodies have been exploited for a long time. They even doing slavery. A lot of people don't know this. They had what they call a sex farm. Now, they had these farms so they can replenish and make more slaves, but they still did not care anything about you. It was a commercialized. And so even now, Black women bodies are still seen in that way. So when we thought about the Me Too movement, it focused a lot on adults. But once again, these were young women, whether they were on college campus, high school, whose bodies were being violated, who was telling them, hey, you can't tell anybody about this. And so she is going deeper, taking deeper dives right now. She's just on the peripheral. So that's where she's going. She's going to continue to talk about these issues. And you keep wondering to yourself, we've been talking about this for years. We should be past it. Even though it talks about Miss Little Linda speak about diversity, she's actually talking about colorism in here. She's a dark-skinned girl who actually father's in the military, travel the world, but everybody tease her about her color. And guess what? Like a lot of people, she wanted to wake up and be white. So she's using bleaching cream. She's doing a lot of things that her parents had no idea about, taking baths in Clorox, and they find out about it and just try to help her with it. So right, like I said, right now I feel like I'm on the surface. So I'm just going to continue to go deeper until we can eradicate this, until we feel good. I know people get upset, hashtag light skin, dark skin, but once again, your complexion is your complexion, but it has a history with it, and people are feeling bad about how they feel, and understanding, just once again celebrating who you are. So I know that's a lot of answer for where she's going. Instead of just saying she's going taking more deep dives, she's in the school. Even though it's children book, it can be used for women and college students also.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. It's such a powerful space to be in and an important space because we do have to have these conversations. And if we don't have these conversations, who's going to have them with our kids? Who's going to ensure that they're able to share and understand these experiences, because the things that we go through are not things that we're going to eliminate going through if we never talk about them. So we have to start at some place. So I absolutely love that, and I'm so excited that we are having a ability to be able to have these conversations more candidly, because this is something that we used to, especially in the Black community, kind of shy away from. We didn't want to talk about colorism. We knew it existed. We didn't want to have a conversation about it. We didn't want to talk about rape. Even though we know it's a very, very strong issue, we don't want to address it. We just kind of say, well, she survived and she's okay, or we move on, or talk around it. There's so many issues that are very pressing that we're finally having a voice. And so I love that little Miss Linda has a voice. It's a voice that comes from you wanting to be able to share and shine a light on these things. And I think that's amazing. Where can people find your books, and where can they find information? Because I think it's going to be even bigger than just having the books there, because it's bigger than just buying the book. It seems like this story is something that after purchasing the book has to be kind of told still through you, because you have a powerful way of communicating this. So how are they able to get the books, and how are they able to get in touch with you?
I'm smiling because right now you can email me at Linda Holloway Speak. I have not done the Facebook, and I know I need to do Facebook and all that. I do not have that. So right now it's just Linda Holloway Speak. I do respond very quickly. So it's Linda Holloway speak gmail.com. That's where
Okay.
you can find me. And I do want to say one of my girlfriends, because I did mention I was a poet, she developed me on YouTube. So you can't leave message out there, but you definitely can go out there and actually see, a couple of times I'm doing storytelling and some poems that I've done. So spoken word, I like to say spoken word.
I love that. Where can we find your books?
They're at Amazon, because I do want to say that I am a self-published independent author. I took that route. So you would find the books there on Amazon.
Very
Amazon.
nice. I love that. So what I'll make sure I do, guys, is I will drop the links to the article, to the YouTube, and to all of the stories, the books that Miss Linda has in the description of this video, as well as on my blog, IamMichelleRenee.com, along with this article, so that you're able to reach out to her, as well as include her email address, so that you can contact her for speaking engagements, so you can learn more about her characters, and so that you can make sure that you're fully aware of everything that she has going on with this. Is there anything else that you would want our viewers, our listeners to know about you, the activist, the author, the story activist, the professor, the woman? What do we need to know about you?
I just would think that I'm determined, dedicated, and committed to whatever I put my mind to. And if they would contact me or they need me, that I would be more than happy to support them. And that could mean that someone out there might be thinking about writing a children's book or want to know about various things. But I do want to say this. I've been negligent. It takes a team. It does take a village. Even though I'm the mouthpiece that's out there, I'm the author. I do want to give a shout out to my illustrator. He's phenomenal. Ryan Battle has done a phenomenal job. I feel like he's my husband in a lot of ways, because we go back and forth arguing about things and trying to get it together, but he is phenomenal. He's the one that makes the story comes alive. Also, that I do have a writing critique team. And so I do want to just say that you cannot do this journey alone. So I do want to know that if you look at it and you're saying, oh my gosh, she's done all these things, and it seemed I did not do it alone. I did it with the help of other people encouraging me and supporting me. Even to the point when I was coming on, I said, oh, I'm feeling nervous. And Michelle said, oh, it's just going to be one sister talking to another sister conversation. And that was really helpful to me because I really wanted to do well. Because one thing we're taught in Mississippi, we supposed to take care of one another. Don't make somebody look bad. So I'm like, I'm on for another sister from Mississippi. Not only that, but she's also graduated from Mississippi State. So I did my homework.
That's
And I'm
right.
a
That's
sister
right.
from Mississippi State. So that's what I would want you to know, that I'm committed to what I like, what I would do. There's no small place, a large place that I would not come. And so you can reach out to me and ask me various things, even if it's not about the books. You might want to ask me about, I am the program coordinator of the master's program and counseling program at Alabama State, if you're interested in going into counseling or things like that. So if you need to reach out, that's what I would like to say.
I absolutely love that. I have one more question, and this is my doozy question. This is the big one. What is one word that affirms who you are?
You talking to somebody that's a teacher, like one word. Okay, one word I would be saying determined. And the reason I say determined is because what Mount Bayou taught me growing up on the farm with six sisters and two brothers is to be determined. Is that's where I learned my grit and my grind. And I told you there was a book that said, everything I learned about life, I learned it in kindergarten. No, everything I learned about as I've gotten older about life and how to just not give up, to continue to be determined in spite of all what's going on in life. I would have to say that I am determined. I've had a lot of knockdowns in life, but I'm determined to make it. I'm determined to be the best that God has allowed me to be. So I would have to say determined.
I absolutely love that. I think that's that Mississippi grit that comes through. It's something about being raised in the SIP that it's just in you. It's in you to not give up, to persevere, to not allow other people to write your story, to really be your own author and narrator of this story of your life. So I love that. I absolutely love you, and I'm so grateful that you were confident to just step out of on faith and say, "Hey, I'm here and I want to talk about this," because I was just like, okay, I don't have a lot of people who ask me to interview them. And I want people to. I want people to be comfortable and say, hey, I have something going on. So it takes a very powerful, a very determined, a very self affirmed woman, a strong woman to say, I'm doing something and I want to share this with you. I love that. It took a very long time for me to get to a place and say, "Hey, how are you? Do you mind if I interview you, ask you questions?" So I love that that kind of is being reciprocated and saying, "Hey, I got something going on. I want to talk about it," or I feel that what I have going on is adding value, and I want to tell you and affirm that it does and it is. And I cannot wait to fill up my cart with your books because I know that these are going to be phenomenal stories to share with my girls and to share with my colleagues. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your gift. Thank you so much for sharing your presence. And from one Mississippi girl to another, keep being the dope Black woman that you are. I love you and I mean that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Everybody be sure to check her out. She is on YouTube. Linda Holloway Speaks at gmail.com. And when you see this interview, make sure you fill up your cart with all of those amazing books. Subscribe to the blog, like, comment, and share, and let everybody know that you are supporting the Dope Black Woman movement. And if you know a dope Black woman that you'd like to see featured, please hit me up in my DMs. I'm happy to do that. And I want to share our stories and just amplify our voice. I hope that you have a great one. And no matter what you have going on, by all means and by everything, be sure to protect your peace and protect your energy. Have a good night. I love you.
Bye. Thank you.